On today's episode of Beauty Behind the Brand, we have Stephanie Gee on Gee Beauty. They are an outstanding business. If you haven't heard of them, you definitely need to check them out. Located in Toronto as well as Miami, both online and in person presence is outstanding. They have had their business since 2005, growing and scaling both online as well as in person. Their experience is beyond next level. They have everything from skincare, brows, and skin products, as well as makeup. So let's dive into today's episode. You will learn so much about customer service, experience in growing and scaling your business online and in person. So let's dive in. All right. So this is our last episode we have as a guest, which I'm so thankful we were able to get you on, Stephanie. I always say I have like my dream list of guests I want to get on each season, and you are definitely one of them. So I'm so grateful for that. And I feel like your story is just so enlightening for so many, from having like a family-based business with like women empowerment, as well as having a brick and mortar product line. There's just so many great things we can chat about today. So I'm excited to hear your story kind of from the beginning, how you got inspired with the beauty industry and where you are today.
Thank you so much. And thank you for having me, Nicole. This is such an honor and a pleasure. And I'm excited to share with your audience because I'm sure so many of us are, you know, chasing the same dreams and reaching for the same goals. So it's just such a pleasure. I am one of the G women behind the brand G Beauty, which is a multi-generational beauty brand. We have an incredible line of makeup for a very lifestyle, everyday, easy, woman on the go, busy lifestyle brand that really lives with you. And our whole focus is on this idea that each G woman, which is my mom and my two sisters and I, represent different life stages and ages, and you can really wear our makeup throughout every point of your life. So the brand is something we're very passionate about. We are so grateful to the amazing community we've built over the past 19 years. And we also have two studios, one in Toronto and one in Miami. And of course, our websites really allow us to have a growing community all over the world. Our business started in 2005. The inception and concept was created by my mother, Miriam, and my sister, Natalie, and was really brought to life by my father Alan, who at the time owned a ad agency, and my sister Celine is our creative director. Worked with the team to create the brand, and Natalie and Miriam really were the creators of this concept, specifically the studio in Toronto at the time in 2005. And over the past 19 years, we have grown in every way with our studio in Miami, really building and cultivating this signature makeup line, and then retailing the best of beauty when it comes to skincare, body care, wellness, hair care, and all of that. So I joined the business full time when I was 18. I dropped out of university. I tried with all my might, but it was really not my best environment. And because G Beauty had started when I was 13, I had really grown working in the studio on the weekends and after school. And so when I got to university, I was like, whoa, I don't feel that sense of accomplishment. And I loved being in the space. I love working with clients. And so both of my parents, being very entrepreneurial, said no problem. And the next day I started working at G Beauty. And also we have a beautiful shop called 6 by G Beauty, which we call our cooler younger sister, right next door, which is also where I worked for a period of time, which is now run by, also in the family, our cousin Michelle, who is the most stylish, coolest, and creative person. So it really is a full family business. But in our business, we consider ourselves a team because, we say, like in a sports team, you keep on the great players. And unfortunately, when somebody isn't pulling their weight, we bring on another player. That's how we are in our business as well. But of course, that passion and respect and trust and loyalty is there because we are a family. And so, 10 years into the business, we opened our Miami location, which ended up being where my two sisters, Natalie and Celine, moved and planted themselves. But we all work and support all of our businesses. They're very intertwined. We all do a million things, but we also really focus on what we're very talented at and give each other the space to do that. So, our father, Alan, is involved in the business and new business development. Miriam and I are based in Toronto, and then Natalie and Celine are based in Miami.
Oh my gosh. That now when you have family dinners, do you always just talk about business?
We've really come such a long way with our boundaries that we
Yeah.
really try to turn off the work dialogue at 6 p.m. as best we can. And that way we know if something's coming up in the evening, it's because it's really pressing and really urgent. But if it does come up at dinner, it's because we're so passionate about it and we really want to continue the conversation, but we also have worked so hard on having that space in between to be family and focus on our family lives and then be full on the next morning.
I feel like it also keeps you refreshed, right? Like if you're living and breathing it all the time and then having those boundaries, it's easier said than done, isn't it?
Definitely. It took us a long time, but I think as we really established our own lives and, are building our own families, it just became this natural progression. And we give 200% in the workday, like when we are working. So, we really respect each other's downtime and we have to regroup because we give, give, give. So we have to really make sure that we're refueling and resting or getting energized in other ways in our downtime.
I love that. Now, what is your first like thorough memory, especially with the business starting like when you were 13, for example? What was one of the first memories you had of like when G Beauty started? What was kind of like that moment where you're like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. Like my parents and my family are creating this business.
Well, every day after school, there was always some sort of meeting at the kitchen table, papers everywhere, spitballing back and forth. And I would just like go in the kitchen, make myself my snack, go and do my homework. But I would often comment, like, what is happening? What are we doing? What's going on? And then I started to see it come to life. I remember us sitting in our living room and brainstorming names. I then remember going to see the location for our Toronto studio that we're in now. So I absolutely saw it all come together. And then I remember my first full day of work. I was so into it. I loved it. And then I remember I came home at 7 o'clock. I had a Diet Coke and I fell asleep. And I was like, that is the definition of a hard day's work. I was so in the best way. Like I had given everything and I just was exhausted. But that was the feeling that I really started to fall in love with. And I still love every day. Like the pandemic was challenging because I love to be with people and I love to service and I love to engage and be present with people. So I don't take that for granted. And it really, I feel blessed that I have the energy to do that.
Oh my gosh, I totally agree. That's how this podcast actually started was because it was the pandemic. And I was like, I miss having meaningful conversations with clients because I was a service provider up to that point as well. And I was like, I miss talking to my clients. I miss like having meaningful conversations with anybody. Like I was like sitting at home and I was like, I need that. And I think that's where people miss sometimes too when they look at beauty providers. They're like, oh, they're just providing a beauty service, but we're providing like a friendship for someone who might feel lonely. We can sometimes become therapists at some points as well, learning anything and everything about them. But that's the rewarding part. And I totally agree with you. I don't think I'll ever take that for granted to be able to go and actually be like touch. I know like the touch and feel of a client of actually like providing a service and making them feel like $1 million when they walk through that door after is you can't replicate that in any other way.
Exactly. And being that source of excitement and engagement for people is such a sense of purpose for them and for us.
Mhm.
We always, when we train our team, and that's always ongoing, but especially with new people, we always say that, our job is to make the client feel like the most important person in the room. And in turn, they're giving us the gift of having a job and having a purpose and having a reason to wake up and get dressed. And so it's this mutual gratitude for what each other are bringing, each other together for. So we never take that for granted. And that is thought through in the way that we get dressed in the morning and the way we put on our makeup, because exactly what you said, you could be that person's purpose to get out of bed in the morning, you
Oh,
know?
100%, 100%. Now, with the pandemic, on the topic of that, did you find your online sales? You guys were really trying to market and push those online sales since you weren't able to do in-person applications or browse or anything like that?
Yes, we definitely would consider ourselves resilient. We get really creative. We definitely are a yes kind of family. We will always find a way. And it started in a few different ways. My sister Natalie got on camera and started doing, her version of a get ready with me that really took off because people felt the authenticity of being at home with her three kids, her wife, and running a business and trying to not fall into, not getting dressed or not putting on makeup on. It became the opposite. It really became a movement of taking 10 minutes, not even 5 minutes, putting your makeup on, getting creative with the makeup that you have, trying new things. And then we got creative with, at home brow tinting kits and at home facial kits. And I personally went live every Saturday night with like a glass of wine and a great playlist and did my skincare routine. And Miriam did these amazing Zoom classes for women over 50 who really wanted to learn about skincare from a deep educational level. So we really did get creative. Our mission was to get online 5 days a week, which we did.
Oh,
We
wow.
got
Yeah.
really creative with our, e-commerce packaging to again make it feel really exciting. My sister Celine got incredibly creative with the digital experience, making sure it was really as close as we could be to shopping in store. And even when we could do curbside pickup, we got really creative. We played great music, we still got dressed, we made the PPE as chic as we could, but we really did open our minds, and it really expanded our community to reach people again all over the world or in places that there isn't a physical studio for people to come in. And we still have clients coming in saying, I found your brand during the pandemic, and Natalie's videos really got me through a hard time, or being on your lives on Saturday night was so fun. And I loved learning that from Miriam. And, I love now seeing Celine on video. So it pushed us all out of our shell. And you know, as of course challenging and devastating as that time was, it also brought a lot of blessings. And for us, that was being able to connect with our community on such a global scale.
Absolutely. And I feel like it's also great because it's like they get to put a name to the face. Like they might know specific technicians like your sisters, but then they might not directly know your like you said, your cousin or your mom, right? It's nice that they'll be able to kind of get to know everyone within the community of the business. And I totally agree with the curbside pickup. We were the same. I'm like, I never put so much energy in like packaging and making an experience of like a porch side pickup. Also, just like being able to have those little chats through the door, right? Being able to just touch base with everyone, see how they're doing. I just think of that as such a wild time, but I will never take it for granted either because that's kind of where we pushed a lot of same thing. We did facial kits with our line because we had a lot of product and I was like, I can't let this expire. Like this 2 week closure is now becoming a lot longer too. So it was tricky trying to brainstorm. The word pivoting, I think will like scar my mind for the rest of my life. Trying to pivot constantly, but it made us resilient. Like we are able to see the other side of it where a lot of other people may not, or they were able to come up with different business ideas that made them grow outside of their comfort zone too, which I think, like you said, seeing the kind of the light, right? Even though it was
Yeah.
a dark time, really being able to come together and see that light at the end of the tunnel. Do you have some products that you might have like really kind of honed in on during that time that were really popular during the pandemic?
I think that was really the burst of our makeup brand. We've always had a makeup brand since the day we opened in 2005, but again, this connection virtually was the perfect platform to really showcase our makeup, how versatile it is, how user friendly it is, how multi-purpose, how really easy it is to use. The more you blend G Beauty makeup, the better it looks, so it really is this breathable, buildable, live with you makeup line that really came to life in the pandemic because people really saw the transformation, or they could see and feel how easy it was. And again, with the consistency in creating content, we really showed how creative you can be with one lip liner or one lipstick or one eyeliner. And so now our community is so involved in the products that we make. I mean, our studios have always been our living labs where we really know what people want. We hear that feedback live. But again, since really growing and tapping into this community online, we consider all this feedback when we create a product. We just launched a brown mascara purely because of the amount of requests we have gotten for a brown mascara. When we repackaged something, our Prime Skin went through an incredible repackaging during the pandemic. And so much of the feedback was what makes it so successful today. A easy to close lid, make it clear so I can see how much product I have left, make it so that it's travel friendly and that nothing breaks in transit. So much feedback like that allowed us to make something that people feel part of now when they click open their Prime Skin. It's like that part of that feedback they gave is what we really considered. So I would say the makeup is really what grew. All the brands that we carry have been each individually founded on a personal relationship with either the brand founder, or we came to the line with a great reason. So the relationships we have with, Dr. Sabah, Dr. Barbara Sturm, SkinCeuticals, all these brands, Joanna Check, we've built such a close-knit relationship with them. And so we worked together in the pandemic. We went on, we did live Q&As and interviews with all these brand founders, Dr. Dennis Gross, everyone. And again, it just really showed our commitment to these relationships, to the brands, to the founders, and our belief and what we stand by is that we don't put anything on our shelves, physically or digitally, that one of the G women haven't tried, tested, and really believe in.
Hey there, beauty entrepreneurs and self-care enthusiasts. Are you looking to enhance your beauty business with a top-tier lash serum or simply seeking to elevate your own beauty routine? Look no further than Miskoka Beauty Lash and Brow Enhancing Serum. Proudly made in Canada, our serum offers the perfect blend of nourishing ingredients to naturally enhance your lashes and define those gorgeous brows. Whether you're aiming to retail a sought-after product or enhancing your personal beauty, Miskoka Beauty has you covered. And here's an exclusive offer just for our podcast listeners. Enjoy a fantastic 15% off discount on your order. Simply use the promo code podcast15 when visiting Miskoka.com to claim your savings. Again, that's promo code podcast15 for 15% off our lash and brow serum. By the way, it is our best sellers, so can't wait to see your before and afters.
And you touched on 2 points there. Like, I feel like exactly to that is experimenting and listening to your consumers. Cause I feel like as entrepreneurs, we are usually very creative. Like, we love coming up with ideas, but sometimes it's hard to hear other people's input and ideas. I'm sure you also probably deal with that working with family as well, where you're not like a solo entrepreneur. But I think being open to that, being open to the change, the revelation of changing product, whether that is the packaging formulation. We went through something very similar. We have a lash and brow company. So it's everything to do with anything from lash enhancement growth or like our lamination kits, that type of thing. And we couldn't do lash extensions at our studio anymore. And I was like, oh my gosh, my clients are blowing up my DMs. We've got to get this lash enhancement serum out there because people are needing it, especially for brows and all the things. And that's where it just blew up for us because I was trying to listen to what they needed, where before I felt like I didn't really have time to kind of sit with an idea. Before the pandemic, it was just go, 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 right? We didn't have time to experiment with our makeup as much. We didn't have time to kind of play with packaging and hear what the consumers had to say. Where now that has become one of our best sellers. And that's what it sounds like with Prime Skin as well for you.
Yes, Prime Skin is our number one best-selling product. And exactly to your point, now it's become part of our foundation to take time to read every DM very intentionally. I mean, we have
Yes.
a meeting every Monday with our marketing digital creative team, and we go through our most frequently asked questions in our DMs, the most frequent or the most consistent comments that we see. And we take that feedback and we really think about it and we act on it. And I think that that's so important when you're building, whether it's a beauty destination in person or online, is that we are nothing without our clients. We are nothing without our community. And so showing that gratitude, if it's in thank you notes, if it's in making sure that feedback actually becomes something, if it's in a phone call of I'm thinking of you, those touch points really do set you apart and make that person feel so valued. I was sharing this story with our team, and I always take my own experiences and share them with our team, because I believe these are like lessons and gifts that we can learn from. And I was working with a functional medicine doctor who really did the whole thing with me, blood work, supplements, everything. And I invested so much time and money because I wanted to. And I never heard from them after 2 appointments. And for me, that sat with me of, where is my value? Where is that I care about you feeling? Where is that commitment? And it's led me to go somewhere else, right? Versus, the person who does my hair is always checking in on me, is always commenting on my content, is always saying, let's change this or let's do this. And I'm forever loyal. I tell everyone about her. So I think that that's very important when you want to build loyalty and really show gratitude to your longstanding clients, and show future clients why sticking with your brand or coming in to have services with you is different than going somewhere else. And it's really the care and attention.
And asking your clients that exact question. Like when we have new clients that come into the spa, I'm always like, how did you hear about us? Or if it was a referral, I write something on that
Yeah.
client's thing, on that client's profile. So I know to thank them for recommending that person for coming in. Like it's not just a business transaction, where I feel like a lot of people sometimes think that way, where it's not. Like you're going to grow your business from exactly what you said, is that business really there, that client relationship. And I think really making sure that they feel valued on so many different levels. Like we even send out birthday messages to our
Yeah.
clients, right? Like little things that just make their day. And it's like, you're part of our family. It's like, you're not just part of like our business, you're literally part of the family. And it's okay. Like I always say to our clients, like if they move away and they come back or vice versa, or they end up going somewhere else and come back, it's like they still ended up coming back to us. So obviously there's a reason that's making us different than somewhere else. But I always love hearing the feedback. I'm always like, why do you keep coming back? Like, what about your brow wax that you absolutely love? Or what about the facial? Like, what about the facial is your favorite part here? That we could continue like to maybe brand on more, like to accelerate that
Definitely.
experience, right?
Follow-up calls, like writing down that
Exactly.
feedback, sharing it, and also sharing the challenging feedback. We
Yes.
don't back with our team, and we all, I find clients, they feel so bad to share, especially
Yeah.
long clients that, I don't want to get this person in trouble. And I always say, without this feedback, we cannot grow. We cannot improve. We welcome the feedback because we will actually act on it, whether
Yes.
it's,
Mhm.
this person's this person didn't address me by my name. Usually you always address me by my name. Great feedback. We have to work with that person on how do we get better at engagement? How do we get better at making the client feel it's more personal? We had this something that we do, which I'm sure you probably do of something similar, is if somebody doesn't know what kind of treatment they want, we book them the time. And then when they're in the room, we have a very thorough analysis and we make a recommendation. And in the past, what was happening is we wouldn't necessarily go into detail about the pricing of that treatment. So when they would come to the desk, they would be like, whoa, I didn't realize. So with all this feedback, and again, it's like putting ourselves in the client's shoes. So we get in, we role play, what's missing? How can we do this better? Now, what we position is, you will not even start the treatment without knowing everything that will be in it, the price, how long these results will last you, when you're going to need to come back. So you can have the empowered choice of, great, let's go ahead, or can we do something different, right? So again, all of that dialogue and that feedback is welcome, because without it, we can't grow. If we don't know, we can't change it. And unfortunately, people will go somewhere else. And also, we need to create this space where, again, it's like a living lab. The more we know, the better we can be. And sometimes we can't all see the blind spots. We're not in every single interaction. So we actually welcome that feedback and we are so grateful. We extend so much gratitude because it shows that people care and they want to keep coming.
Oh, 100%. Or they just wouldn't come and not give us that feedback. Exactly. I had a client actually call the other day because there was like some little thing that happened with her appointment. It was just the timing got mixed up. And then we had to move her appointment slightly by 5 minutes or whatever. And she called, I thought it was going to be regarding a complaint, but it was actually her calling just to appreciate her still being accommodated and being able to get in. And I was like, no, no, no. Like, I love this feedback, knowing like what's happening, because I'm not there every single day, or I'm not involved in every appointment as a business owner. And it's great for me and my spa manager to know what's going on, because exactly the same thing. She might be in a treatment room, or someone might be coming in, different conversations happen, but still knowing we kind of have our finger on the pulse of the business, of knowing what's going on. Now,
Exactly.
when opening a second location, was it very much that, like, let's take this Toronto location and duplicate it in Miami, or was there some type of kind of ideas that you were like, let's change this when we go into making a new brick and mortar location, or what was kind of the brainstorming there to create a new location?
So as a family, we had always vacationed in Miami, and Miami has always been a very strong part of our lives. I've been going since I was a kid. And we always went to this beautiful luxury outdoor mall called Bell Harbor Shops in Miami. And we as a family would always fantasize of what it would be like to have a shop in there one day, or what it would be like to be in Miami more long term. And the owners of Bell Harbor Shops are also a family, and ended up coming to our Toronto studio and experienced what we do there. And it became this like mutual approach to opening a space in Miami. It was definitely a what is the best word to say? It was not impulsive, but it was definitely a risk. It was a jump. It was a, if we don't do this, will we ever do this kind of decision? And we definitely did not know what we were getting into when we said yes. At that time, I was still really early on in my career. I was really just learning the ropes of the Toronto business, the Canadian operation. But nonetheless, we said yes because we're really entrepreneurial people, and we really are very driven. So when we opened the space in Miami, at first it was a lot of um, traveling back and forth, really figuring out who was going to be there. The concept was definitely a little different than Toronto. It was a smaller space. Again, it was in this beautiful luxury outdoor mall. Obviously, we had never run a business in the US, so it's just different in small ways, but obviously the laws are a little bit different. The work ethic and style is a little bit different. The people, the client in Bell Harbor Shops is more transient and tourist, right? Versus being in Toronto, we're in this great neighborhood where you're seeing the same people, every couple of days. So it was definitely a shift. It was definitely a hard build. It was a huge life-changing point for our family. And it ended up being that my sisters realized that, they were in a point of their lives where they were ready to make the move, because for us, we really need to be and live where our spaces are, where our studios are. It's one of the reasons we don't have 10 studios, because we're so committed to the physical spaces where our businesses are. And so when that transition happened, I really stepped up in taking ownership in the studio operations in Toronto. And really, Natalie and Celine took on the business in the US. And a few years into being in Miami, we ended up moving to a more neighborhood lifestyle area called Sunset Harbor, which is where the studio is now. So kind of similar to Rosedale, where we are in Toronto. Very family oriented, very lifestyle gym, grocery store, coffee shop, come and get your brows done, go pick up your kids from school, which we realized is really what our lifestyle is about. We are forever in gratitude to Bell Harbor Shops for really giving us that opportunity to enter the US in such an incredible environment. I mean, you can't get a better, world-class ticket into luxury and retail than Bell Harbor Shops. And being in Sunset Harbor is really, again, very similar to what we have in Toronto here. So very lifestyle, more treatment rooms, browse out in the open. We have the same offerings for the most part when it comes to retail, except some products are US only. But other than that, it's as similar as can be, but of course, with its own twist on the city that we're in.
I love that, because it's like you said, it is a community. Like, we're in a very small community. We're in Muskoka here, and I'm born and raised here, so I feel like it. I know basically anyone and everyone that comes to the door. It's very much a community feel. But I notice now we do have a lot of new people that are coming from the city, or really during the pandemic, a lot of people had moved up north. We brought in our brow chairs. We used to only do them in treatment rooms. And then we brought them into doing brow chairs. And like all of our city clients are like, oh, this is so normal. But then all of our like small town people are like, this is weird getting my brows done where everyone can see me. So it's funny how you can kind of see the transitions within your business, but even to like your location, right? Like parking. I always feel like parking has always been a number one thing on my mind because the convenience. I'm like, if I can pull up, get out of my car, get what I need, pick up, get a service. Um, just yeah, the community with this, if it is on your way to do kid pickup or drop offs, going by the grocery store. Like, I think that's something when people are looking at locations to purchase a brick and mortar or for rentals or something, really get the community feel. Like, do you see yourself in that area? Do you see yourself as the client going into that brick and mortar location? I think that's something that a lot of people just get so excited about the business idea of starting a spa or salon, but really need to hone in on finding that perfect location.
Definitely. And everything has its, pros and cons. Everything has its that's incredible and that's going to be a shift. And I think again, as long as the challenges are met with the best service or,
Yes.
'cause, speaking of parking, it's the street that we're on in Toronto has the least amount of parking and it's always been a challenge. And there was a couple of years ago when there was crazy construction on the street that took up all the parking. And we thought, okay, what are we going to do? It was a huge financial cost, but so worth it. We ended up getting a valet for about 3 months, and we really wanted our clients to see how dedicated we were to them still coming in and not being frustrated, and despite the traffic, they could just have that sense of relief that their car was taken care of. We ended up becoming so friendly with the valet team, but it was a worthy cost for us to know that our clients were really taken care of and thought of. And I think that that just speaks to being entrepreneurial and creative and putting yourself in their shoes. I mean, there's nothing worse than feeling stressed about a parking spot when your appointment is like right now,
Oh
right?
yeah.
So
Mhm.
I agree. I think that putting yourself in their shoes, I often tell the team, we have an amazing front desk team, and I always encourage them to leave the store, come back in and pretend you're a client. What would you look at? What would you hear? What would you smell? What looks off? What catches your eye? And then that feedback allows us to, you know what, I've got to clean that, or you know what, that playlist isn't quite right, or I noticed that that person's station is looks like this and it should look like that. And so that's a great practice also when you feel maybe a bit stuck or you don't know if how is it feeling, or you just kind of get used to your same space every day. Go out, walk back in as a client and pick up on what you think and hear and feel and smell and use your senses.
That's such good feedback. I might bring that up in our next staff meeting because I feel like I do that naturally without even realizing because I'm not there every day. So I do realize like, oh, even the front of the label of the bottle needs to be
Yes.
showing. Like little things like that are like, I'm like, oh God, there's a cobweb. Like how long has that cobweb been there? Right. Like you just notice the detail. But I think that's so important. Like giving that client like to the parking valet, it's like giving them that VIP treatment. Like what other spa or brow bar, anything I've ever even heard of has done that for their clients. Like that's just incredible. I think that's such great like having that experience for them, but also like you said, taking away that stress because you know it was temporary, that construction, so you knew
Yeah.
it wasn't going to be a forever thing, but making it that ease for that client coming in.
Hey there, beauty enthusiasts. Are you ready to take your skills to the next level and dive into the world of lash lifts, tints, and brow laminations? Look no further than Miskoka Beauty online courses. With Miskoka Beauty, you'll learn the artistry of lash lifts and tints and master the technique of brow laminations, all from the comfort of your own home. Plus, each course comes with a full kit included, ensuring you have everything you need to succeed. And here's the best part. Our listeners get an exclusive offer. Use promo code podcast10 to save 10% off any online course at Miskoka.com. So why wait? Elevate your beauty game today with Miskoka Beauty online courses. Visit Miskoka.com and enroll now.
Exactly.
Amazing. Now, when you were experimenting with different products, like what you were saying of having your products in the brick and mortar and kind of like experimenting, and I mean, obviously, you guys have an amazing family to be able to kind of get feedback from just even yourselves as individual, but what is like your favorite thing about starting a new product or launching a new product within the line? Like, what is that? kind of aha moment for you where you're like, this is going to be one of our best sellers, or this is going to be the one that I think is going to just, like what you're saying, even about the brown mascara, obviously having client feedback, but just like getting into the exciting part of like formulating and packaging? What's like your favorite part of all of that?
That's a great question. I would say, I mean, it's two parts on the retail or third party brands that we carry, not our own brand. We really do go after the brands that we want. Um, More often than not, we're going out and we're reaching out and we're saying we need this versus when brands come to us, which definitely happens and has definitely brought us incredible lines. There's still like such a trial period, right? So we communicate if a brand wants to be on our shelves, we need to trial the products for at least 1 to 3 months. One of the G women has to give it a thumbs up and really has to tell us what we love about it. And we really need to believe in the brand. We need to believe in the science. We need to believe in the ingredients. We need to believe in the founder. And again, we have built these relationships with these founders that bring us into their business and vice versa. You know, we have built these relationships with founders that we end up bringing into our studios and doing incredible events with and helping them launch. Many of the brands that we have brought to Canada, we were the first to bring. Tata Harper, Dr. Sabah, Joanna Check. We work so hard to build these brands, and we, in exchange, have this incredible relationship with them where we may launch products first with them, and we will get, you know, specific gift with purchase or sampling programs. So that really keeps us very unique. I've personally brought on a few brands that I'm really passionate about, like Well Bell, the hair supplement, Skinny Confidential. I'm a huge fan of
Oh
Lauren Goff
yeah.
and,
Yeah.
you know, begged and begged for her products, and we were the first in Canada to sell her products. Well Bell, we were their first retailer. This was also during the pandemic. So when I personally feel excited about a brand, I mean, each of us kind of take ownership and we run with it. The Joanna Check brand, one of my favorites. They're incredible. Team member Mary Grace came into my inbox, and her email was so authentic that I just thought, we've got to try this. And we have the most incredible relationship with Joanna Check and Mary Grace. So that's kind of how we go through processes for brands. And then with our makeup brand, I would say, you know, I'm the least involved in terms of formula. Where I really come to life is in giving the feedback of what our clients are looking for, because I also do a lot of makeup applications. I do a lot of client makeup. I have a few celebrity clients. And so I'm really in the application. So I can say, we need something more fuller coverage. We need a better setting powder. We need this color of lip liner. And again, when it comes to life, I'm really passionate about it. So we all come to the table with a different perspective and different set of feedback. You know, Miriam's coming to the table with a demographic of women over 70. Miriam is connected to products that are glow enhancing and skin nourishing and tightening, where I'm coming to the table with, you know, I'm looking for more mattifying products, more products to work on my pore, my oil control. Natalie's coming to the table with, you know, this lifestyle of doing her makeup in the car between school drop off and getting into the studio, or just coming out of a gym class. And you know, Celine's coming to the table looking for brightening and tightening and lifting, and loves an eye patch and loves learning about the best formula for an eye patch. So we all come with a different set of check marks, I guess. And then we work together, and we can really give our community, there's something for everyone.
I think, and literally what you, I know in your marketing, it's a lot about like the modern woman, right? It's the modern spa experience as well. And I think part of that is so amazing because you are touching so many different points when it comes to different women in different stages, right? And that's where sometimes I feel like our mark with our spa, because we are all for the most part under 35. So it's sometimes hard where we're like trying to sell skincare to someone who's, yes, like 70 and up. It's like, oh, that you should be using this because of the collagen, or if you need this for different vitamin C's. Like, it's sometimes they maybe don't take us serious because they're like, this 30-year-old's trying to sell me product, but it's getting to know, right, what the consumer needs, like really understanding what they need, even though you can't maybe relate to them directly. It's like knowing your ingredients, knowing what products will actually fix what they're wanting to fix. Like, I feel like that's sometimes really missed where people just look at, oh, let's try to get this product out the door. Let's try to sell this versus like, let's get you on a proper regime at home as well as in treatment. And then let's like follow up. Let's make sure we've got you in every 4 weeks for this. Like, I really feel like that mark is really missed sometimes for people who can't relate to the different demographics and ages with their clientele. But I think with your family, you really can't miss that mark, right? You've got each pillar, whether yes, you're a busy mom, you're at that age of like really wanting to take care of and nourish your skin, preventative as well, aging and mattifying, like you were saying, with whether that's makeup and or skincare. And then those really cool, like you're saying, the hair clips and accessorizing and really having that kind of all together, like that one-stop shop for everything you need.
Yeah, definitely. And I also, I faced that issue a lot when I first started because I'm so passionate about skincare and ingredients, and women, over 50 would look at me and say, "Why would I shop from you?" At the time, like I
Yes.
was 18. And I really learned a few things. I learned to dress the part. I think
Yes.
that the more sophisticated and elevated you dress, the more respect you will get. And, for me, I take pride in putting a jacket on or wearing heels or having a great pair of earrings, and that presentation also shows my maturity. But also I would tell the clients, and still do to this day, we don't need to be the same age. I need to be extremely educated in the science of what these ingredients will do. I'm here to teach you. And yes, of course, I have Miriam to be this living example of why you need to be wearing vitamin C every day. But I really do believe, and I know the information of why this is going to slow down the aging process, why this is going to boost and thicken the skin collagen, and why this is going to help with the elasticity. And the more, I mean, education is the biggest part of our brand and the way that we want clients to feel, because when you are educated, you are empowered. And so there's never a sell. It's really an education. It's a product knowledge session. It's let me teach you so that they walk away being like, wow, Steph taught me something today. I can't wait to use my vitamin C because I know why I'm using it. And that's a huge part of our content that, in every email, in every post, in every story, it's what is the client learning from this experience? Because we both know Sephora is incredibly overwhelming. Every influencer on the planet is telling you to use this and use that, but what is best for you? Why are you using it? We have this amazing consultation in our Toronto studio called the Visia Skin Analysis, and it's this 3D imaging of
Oh
what's
yeah,
happening
I've seen those. Yeah.
of the skin, right? And the reason we're so passionate about it is because you will actually you will prevent wasting time and money by guessing, and you'll really have the information. So for me, when I do the analysis, it's scaled from 0 to 100. My pores are like 2%, but my redness is 99%. So I'm not going to focus on anti-redness products or calming my skin down with oxygen facials. I'm really going to focus on microneedling for my pores, IPL for my pores, lactic acid, and, exfoliating serums, because that's what my skin needs. And then after 6 months of committing to these services and products, I see that my pores go from 2% to 15%. And it goes because I'm working strategically. So for anyone listening that is in Toronto, we are so open and available to give you this analysis so that, again, you are empowered and you're making the best choice for you and your skin.
And the confidence, right? Like, I feel like when
Yeah,
your team has the education and the confidence, same with your client, it's gonna make you feel that much like just that much better at explaining. It takes the guessing work out, like you said, and there's no
exactly.
room for error when you have a machine like that. It's worth its
Exactly.
weight in gold, 100%.
Exactly.
Now, to kind of close off today's episode, I feel like I'm like looking at the time. I'm like, oh my gosh, this has gone so fast. But is there any closing notes you have? Any advice you would give anyone in the beauty industry, whether they have a product line or a brick and mortar? Any advice you would have, or something you would maybe even tell your younger self?
I definitely have always believed, and still do, that showing up is half the battle. And I think that what you can learn from being in every room, and, I also have always believed and still practice that God gave us two ears and one mouth. And if you are around people with more experience or different experience, really listen. I'm not a skin therapist. I didn't go to beauty school. I really learned about skin by listening, by overhearing when a skin therapist was educating a client, or when I go in to flip their treatment room, I'm asking them, why salicylic and not lactic? Why resveratrol and not vitamin E? And take those opportunities to ask a lot of questions, but you will only learn the answers by physically showing up, whether that's online or in person. If you're committed to growing your brand, get online every day, get in your space every day. And it doesn't have to be perfect. I mean, people relate to imperfection, right? But it's the consistency in any part of our lives. I have to practice that in every part of my life, would really be the most important thing is just to be there, and be intentional when you're there. Get dressed, be early, do your homework, that is really, again, what's going to set you apart. You don't want to see a doctor who isn't studying medicine, on their time off. You want a doctor that is fully committed and fully advancing themselves constantly in medicine. So that's what's going to make you feel taken care of. And again, even with social media, I've been doing it for probably like 9 years at this point, and it is absolutely about the consistency. And it evolves, you evolve, your community will grow with you, but you've just got to be consistent.
Exactly. And not worrying about being perfect. I feel even with the podcast, oh my gosh, I felt like I always wanted to start a podcast, but I was so nervous because I wanted it to be perfect. But sometimes you just got to jump in and you'll actually surprise yourself a lot of the time, I think, too.
Really, I had a podcast for a period of time, and it was a great learning experience because it's actually not where I come alive, even though in my mind it was what was going to be the thing that fueled me. And I think trying things and not being afraid, I saw this great concept on Instagram. It was called like, maybe it was called like My Failure Museum. And it was like people sharing all the things they've tried and quote unquote failed at. And it's amazing when you think about all the things you've tried, and they're not failures. They are what propel you to the next thing. And everything gives you experience, and everything gives you a new set of perspectives. So I really commend you on your podcast. You should be super proud. It is
Aw, thank you.
not easy doing something totally alone, and not even doing interviews in person. It's not easy, so you should be really proud of yourself.
Aw, thank you. It's definitely a passion project. Like I said, we started during the pandemic, but I have a great team behind me who helps me with all the outreach for guests as well as editing. So I get to do the fun part. I get to actually talk to everyone. So I can't thank you enough for today, Stephanie. I've learned so many things, whether it's product or brick and mortar. And I definitely need to come and visit the location in person next time in Toronto. And I'm just so proud of everything your family has created. Like I remember like everything from the logo is just so like recognizable. You see it and without even seeing like the full name itself, just the branding, everything about it is just so seamless. And yeah, it's just a pleasure to talk to you today.
And for me too, thank you so much.